everyone, this is the Cyclic Gamer, and I'm here to showcase a fun little method I use called Lightbringer spam. And it's exactly how it sounds, where you can just spam Lightbringer. Now, I've seen some variations of this build by other YouTubers online, and the one thing I notice about them is that they their Lightbringer spam decreases their max MP bar, like it makes it get smaller, right? Usually by maybe about like 10% of a bar. My method doesn't do that. It actually not only preserves your max MP bar, it actually increases it. So I'm going to demonstrate. As you can see, my max MP bar increased. So I'm going to walk you through on how this method works. It's actually quite simple. So this is my main build. It's called Lord of Chaos. It consists of Primal Warrior, which is the invocation version of Cyclic Warrior, and Demon Lord, which is the ultimate version of Sage. Okay? Now, the cool thing about this Lightbringer spam method is that it can work with literally any job. Yes, including the DLC ones. There's a bit of a catch, though, and that is you need to have your jobs, not the level of the jobs themselves, but the max level that they can reach be at 300. So, not the job itself being at level 300, but you need to have the limit release for your jobs being at 300, because that is the only way you'll be able to apply 60 points to a particular stat in order to get it to work. And yeah, so basically, yeah, like I said, you can work with literally any job, particularly those that have successful show shields that increase your certain stats, right? So like with strength with Breaker, for example, or agility with Phantom, or sorry, Assassin. So the main affinities you're going to want are 600% Cyclic Warrior. So this is where that effects activate on a successful show shield, will also activate on Lightbringer. Okay. The next one is going to be 600% Summoner, which increases the potency for Primary Summon's Blessing. Your Primary Summon Blessing, by the way, can be either Leviathan or Bahamut. Now, if it's going to be Bahamut, you are going to want to have a you're still going to want to have Leviathan, even if you're using Bahamut as your primary blessing, on the accessories, which I don't have in this case. I haven't gotten to that point yet in Stranger of Paradise. I'm still like low 100 level in the Rift. I kind of got bored of the Rift, to be honest. But yeah, if you can help it, use Leviathan. Leviathan is the best thing to use in this case, because it increases MP recovery and max MP engaged on a successful soul shield or soul burst. And since you've got this, where it says effects activate on a successful soul shield will also activate on Lightbringer, that means that every time you activate Lightbringer, it will both refill your MP and increase your max MP. Now, by itself, it doesn't work. It doesn't actually increase your max MP, but it does heavily negate the costs of it. What you're actually going to want to use to increase your max MP is this. You're going to want to have Evoker. And particularly, you're going to want to have the Soul Shield MP bonus. Because the one thing I noticed about Evoker is that when you're using it and you're Soul Shielding, if you have your allies out, their max MP will increase based on your Soul Shielding. So, I think that's the case. I could be wrong. But you're going to want to have this. I've seen other people use Sage instead of Evoker for the added success for the added MP restored by successful soul shield. What they don't probably get is that MP restorative effects don't count for max MP effects. So you can have literally like the most of a max MP stat, but it won't increase. But it won't. You can have the most of a MP recovery stat, whether it's like Soul Shield effects or Soul Burst MP effects, or like a Soul Shield MP recovery or Soul Burst MP recovery, but it won't necessarily um, increase your max MP, especially if you have it as a special effect on your gear. It won't work that way. Um, because your MP gain effects are separate from your max MP gain effects, is what I'm trying to say. So you are going to want to have Evoker instead of Sage. Um, the only downside to having Evoker instead of Sage is that if you do use a Soul Shield when you're not in Lightbringer mode, or hell, even when you're outside, even when you are in it, it won't restore your MP. But you're not going to need that for this method. The other things to have are 400% Void Knight for both the greatly reduce the cost of command abilities, this includes Lightbringer, and for the increased to boost to MP limit by 11.3. So just in case, again, I didn't touch on this, you're going to want to have increased MP limit boost rate to 60.1%. This is the thing that I was talking about earlier where I said you need to have the job limit releases at their max for the job you want to use for this method. Sorry, the job you want to use this method for, because you need to apply the 60 points, which will get you 42%, right? I think it's 42%. And then with the added effects of the Void Knight for the MP limit boost with the 6.8 plus the 11.3, that will get you up to 60.1. You're going to want to be at the 60.1%. So yeah, basically the main ones are effects that activate on social will also activate. So basically 600% Cyclic Warrior, 600% Summoner for the increased potency in your primary summon's blessing. So that near 4,000% could actually be doubled from what I understand. But it doesn't. But you can even have it at like 1,000 and it'll still work. And then 400% Void Knight, and at least 120% or maybe 50% Conjurer at least. Yeah, so you don't want to use Sage, because I've seen other people use Sage. Using Sage decreases your max MP. Using Evoker increases your max MP. And since I'm using Cyclic Warrior in this case, particularly the Primal Warrior version, so if I use Soul of Chaos, watch. Look, I don't lose max MP. Instead, I think I use it because it activates Lightbringer on command. And you gain like 10% of an MP bar every time, maybe more. As for the stats, you can literally have the stats be anything you want. But what I would advise is that if you're going to use this Lightbringer spell, particularly for for basically negating damage from attacks, you are going to want to have Lightbringer duration, because without it, your Lightbringer dodge, especially on the higher difficulty, will deplete very quickly, like in like 1 or 2 hits, even from the weakest of enemies. The Lightbringer duration will instead increase that to where you can actually take more hits, because on multiple occasions on my end, there were many times where I wasn't paying attention to my Lightbringer dodge, and I got killed because of it. Where it was depleted, like it wasn't active anymore, and I just had the regular break dodge, this weak thing, and I got hit by an attack and it instantly killed me. But because I have the Lionheart effect, which comes with Invincible, as well as the 400% Paladin, which not only grants immunity to status elements, but also gradually restores HP while Lightbringer is active, I can basically be invincible and have infinite MP recovery. And also, there's the Overpower ability as well, which is an attack that when used, that can only be used when in Lightbringer, but in using it, cancel it. So, you can just spam it. So you can make a build center around that. And yeah, like I said, this Lightbringer spam method will work with literally any job, as long as you have that 60 points on increased MP limit boost rate. And like I said, the only way you can have that is if the max level that your job can level up to is 300, which is the max that's currently. It's like the highest you can get with the DLCs. So yeah, that's basically how you do Infinite Lightbringer. I'm gonna switch to a different class real quick. Show you exactly how it works. This one's called Ultrasonic Striker. And it's basically a... Oops. Yeah. It's called Ultrasonic Striker, and it's basically a...
Alright.
It's Hunter and Jugglist. Now, I'll admit, I'll confess something. Most of my builds use Lightbringer span in one way or another. So for Hunter... Oh yeah, I forgot to show this. That's what my trousers is currently set at.
Time for a cheer.
Yeah, you can be a literal untouchable badass.
This looks good.
I do want to say one thing. I'm not sure if this method makes Chaos Bringer obsolete, because it's like having extra mode without actually being an extra mode. And yeah, when you soul burst enemies too, a helpful tip is to soul burst them with the class that you have the infinite Lightbringer span thing on. So that way it'll refill your Lightbringer dodge when you use it. Oh, and the cool thing too, because of 400% summoner, you can also spam Lightbringer. Keep the buff up. Okay, I think that's enough. But yeah, that's basically it. Like I said, this can work with literally any job. You just got to have the right affinities on hand. I think the only one you might have a bit more trouble with is with blue mage, especially if you're planning on having an accessory that has an enemy ability that automatically equips it right on hand. You might have trouble there, but it's still usable. I think so. One of my builds called Crimson Sapphire. Oh, yeah. So yeah, so it basically still works that way. So yeah, ignore what I said about Blue Mage.